In 2016, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing some sort of VR or augmented reality. Whether it was Jacksepticeye making a job simulator video, or Ali A making his 4th Pokemon Go video of the day, or maybe it was even Markiplier making that one really weird one-off Minecraft 360 video and then never playing it again. In 2016, this technology was only in its conception, but already dominating in the mainstream. But fast forward almost a decade later, and it seems like almost all of this stuff was a fad. The last genuinely good game-changing VR headset came out half a decade ago. Almost all the top VR creators have now almost completely fallen into obscurity, and the only people really using VR on a consistent basis are the most porn-addicted freaks you're ever gonna see in your life. But to understand why VR became so lame and unnecessary now, you have to understand why it was good in the first place. Look, okay, BC to 2015, literally nobody cared about VR at all, but ever since about the 80s or so, a good demographic of America started to use video games as their main form of entertainment. I mean, back then, these games sucked absolute ass. I mean, you controlled them on what looks like to be one of those child junior phones that you call frog and dog on. But as time goes on, you go from Nintendo to PlayStation, and from 2D to 3D, and from 480p to 1080p. But then you hit a problem. At what point can the GTA 5 graphics be upscaled so much to the point where I can feel the body warmth of the stripper I just paid $25 for a lap dance for? The problem is, if the billion-dollar industry doesn't keep shoving all this innovation down our throats, our monkey brains will get bored. And even though at this point games look good and would continue to look better, to the average consumer, especially ones who used consoles, at this point they all looked good enough. But in the background of all this, a very top secret company that has never released an extremely large puzzle or shooter game ever comes out with a new, latest and greatest innovation, HTC Vive. Gone are the days of having to use your fuck-ass computer mouse to turn 90 degrees in the game you're playing. Just strap that screen right on your cranium and watch as games go from this to this. Now that is innovation. Now, jokes aside, the Valve really was the VR headset to put VR on the map and bring it to the mainstream. In 2016, not only did this headset come out, but also games like Job Simulator, Superhot, and Rec Room came out and had the top YouTubers saying so many F words in videos that would then go on to get 20 million views. It's safe to say at this point that 2016 was the year that brought not only VR, augmented reality as a whole into the mainstream. Because not only did VR blow the fuck up, but so did this very mysterious, unknown mobile app you've never heard before called Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go was the most downloaded app in the App Store for 2016, and it had augmented reality as its main forefront feature. On top of that, 2016, at least in my opinion, was really the year that broke YouTube into the mainstream. So having these VR and IR games getting played by these content creators that may as well be celebrities at this point, making videos that are getting anywhere from 10 to literally almost 30 million views only furthered the growth of this technology. But after 2017, something really interesting started to happen. And no, it wasn't that people thought Hypebeast actually fucking looked good. Why did people wear panda masks? But after what seemed like overnight, VR started to completely fade into obscurity. The top gaming YouTubers are rarely making any videos on any main VR games anymore. Not only that, but all the people who wanted to get VR headsets have already got them by this point, and not many insanely large games are coming out. Now let me ask you a question. How long can new technology still be considered new? How many F words can Jacksepticeye say in a video where he walks on a fake piece of wood? Even though VR at this point was insanely popular, there wasn't much to it. Job Simulator was probably the headline game for all of VR at this point, and its runtime was 2 hours. Superhot, another insanely large VR game, also 2 hours. Another one, Beat Saber, really only fun if you put tens and tens, maybe even hundreds of hours into it. And outside of the games that VR has to offer, the only other thing you can really do with it is watch all the 480p 360 porn videos, and at that point, just go get some bitches. On the outside, when you didn't have a VR headset and all you saw of VR content was the funny gaming video or paying $15 at some booth at your local mall just for it to fall apart in front of you, this technology seems awesome. But it's only after you spend the $400 to $900 on your own VR headset do you realize that this technology that once seemed to have infinite capabilities is really bland. For reference, the top VR games for the past 5 years have been Job and Vacation Simulator, Beat Saber and Superhot, Rec Room and VR Chat, and maybe if you're a nerd, Boneworks. But how, with this genuine futuristic, modern, insane technology, can we only have a generous 10 VR games worth playing? Well, the first reason is that VR games are insanely hard to code for. Look, ever since the birth of video games as a medium, developers have been coding games that are meant to be be consumed on a 2D plane. Whether they're coding a 2D platformer or a 3D action game, you're still consuming the game on basically a rectangle. But whenever you make a 3D VR game, you're consuming the game from a 3D perspective instead of a 2D one. On top of that, any in-depth VR game is likely to give you motion sickness. And let's be honest, who wants to throw up on the TV that grandma already just knocked over the second she put on the Quest? That's just beating a dead horse at that point. So if the games are extremely hard to code for and they have to be very basic, what else does that leave you with other than shooting the red guys or maybe spray painting a wall? Again, the problem here isn't that VR is bad, it's that you only realize all the problems with it once you've already bought the system. VR really reminds me of like that 2013 fad of 3D technology that was going on throughout all of America. Whether it was paying for a movie ticket that was like 3 times the price of a normal one just so that way the blue people looked a little bit closer to you, or $600 for a 3D PS3 TV that was compatible with like fucking 5 games, or it could have been the $250 3DS that launched with no games. At least they fixed that one, but the point is, it's usually not good for the longevity of technology when it's extremely expensive but has little to offer. To sum up all the points that I've made in this video against VR and talking about why it's had this very large downfall whenever it seemed like it was amazing, I'm just gonna regurgitate something I saw in an Eddie Burback video. Let's say that phones didn't exist and the only way to access video content or games or read articles or books was through the use of a 3D VR headset. What would the next technological evolution be? It would probably be to take that headset that blocks off 2 of your major senses and confines you to a specific area and make it portable and not block off the 2 senses. And that sounds a lot like a phone to me. Even in 2016, when VR was popping and the new cool thing, people already had phones. And phones since 2016 have progressed in order of magnitude better than VR has since then. Now, do I think VR is completely useless or that there's no entertainment to be had with it? Absolutely not. But if you're looking for a long-form pillar of entertainment, you probably want to look somewhere else. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash the ever-living shit out of that like button, just like how your dad does the second he puts on the headset and tries to walk on the fake plank, and I'll see you in the next one.